Prudence Williams Shipman. Today I'll be reading Mr. Shipman's Kindergarten Chronicles by Dr. Terrence Shipman. The illustrations for this book were done by Mr. Milan Missick. Dwayne burst into the kitchen, waving the letter Mr. Shipman had given him. He was in kindergarten at Lassiter Elementary School. He was bubbling with excitement. His older sister, Benicia, and his mother watched as he raced towards them, pushing the paper to his mom, smiling brightly. His sister, Benicia, was 13. She laughed as he scrambled over to their mother. "Hey, Dwayne, how was school today?" she asked. Dwayne rattled on that school had been great as he waved the paper to his mom. "We got this letter from Mr. Shipman today. He asked us to give it to our parents." Dwayne's mother looked up and took the paper. "Wow, it's that time of year again," she said. Benicia leaned in and looked over her mother's shoulder. At the top of the page in big, bold letters was the December holidays. "I love December holidays in Mr. Shipman's class," Benicia clapped. Dwayne looked up at her, tilted his head with a sneaky grin. "You can still remember being in his class?" "I'm not that old, little boy," Benicia swatted at him and missed. "I remember Mr. Shipman taking stuff down in the classroom right before Thanksgiving. Everybody in the class was watching him. Then Cherie asked, 'Mr. Shipman, why are you taking down all the posters and moving the furniture?'" Mr. Shipman looked down at us, smiled, and exclaimed, "It's time to prepare for the December holidays." Hayden squealed with excitement, jumping out of his seat. "What's going to happen? What are we going to do?" Mr. Shipman laughed out loud and gave Hayden the sit down and teased him, "You'll have to wait and see." Dwayne, with the curiosity of a cat, sat next to Benicia at the kitchen table. He wanted to hear some more. So she told him all about the December holidays in Mr. Shipman's class. The next day, when we went to school, Mr. Shipman took a picture of each one of us. When we walked into the room, it was all decorated for the holidays. There were lights all over the room, giant Christmas decorations, a menorah, and a Knorr. Music was playing, Christmas music. It was my favorite. During December, we listened to holiday music all day, every day. As we walked around the room, excitement filled the air, but something was missing. Suddenly, Mesa asked, "Mr. Shipman, where's the Christmas tree?"
Action.
Mr. Shipman was standing at his desk. He looked at us and said, "We're taking a field trip to the tree farm to get one." Everyone was happy. We all cheered with joy. Dwayne looked up and gasped. "You really went on a field trip? Oh boy!" "Yes," Benicia exclaimed as her mother nodded, "and it was great. We rode on a bus to the tree farm. At the tree farm, we had so much fun. We went on a hayride, drank hot chocolate, and ate candy canes. Mr. Shipman cut down our own Christmas tree. The next day, we all brought in decorations because Mr. Shipman said, 'I want our tree to represent us all.'" Joseph yelled with delight, "It's a Team Shipman tree." Dwayne nodded his head, holding his face in his hand, and listened as his sister became more excited than ever about going to school the next day. Continuing to talk about the Christmas celebrations with a smile, Benicia said, every day we read Christmas holiday books. There was a special bookshelf for these books. We also did a lot of art projects. I loved all the art projects. We made holiday chains, Christmas cards, reindeer Santa Clauses, and stockings with cotton balls. We even made a wreath out of our handprints. Dwayne looked at his hands. He tried to figure out how a wreath could be made from handprints. Benicia laughed at him and continued. We learned about Hanukkah, a Jewish holiday called the Festival of Lights, and made menorahs and put them outside the classroom. The next day, we went over Kwanzaa, a holiday that honors African heritage in the African American culture. We made menorahs and listened to African music. In his mind, Dwayne saw his sister doing an African dance for Kwanzaa. I remember when the big day came, Benicia said. There was more, Dwayne asked, eyes opened wide. Benicia nodded and kept telling him the story of the December holidays in Mr. Shipman class. We pulled names out of Santa's hat to exchange gifts with someone in the class. I remember Leandra pulled William and David pulled Clifford. Autumn giggled when she got her best friend, Serafina. Then Summer began to cry because no one pulled her name. Mr. Shipman told her, I got you, little girl. He hugged her and she stopped crying. As she sat listening, Dwayne's mother smiled. Even she remembered December holidays in Mr. Shipman's room. She said the parents brought in gifts and all types of food. The celebrations were great, she added. Friday was the last day before the break, Benicia recalled. It was the day we had all been waiting for. There was a joyful feeling in the air. The classroom felt really alive that day. Benicia went on to tell Dwayne about Tiffany and how beautiful her dress and shoes were that day, and how Mr. Shipman had a Christmas tie and Christmas socks too. We watched a movie in the morning until lunchtime, she said, but no one really ate lunch because we all wanted to eat the food in the classroom. Benicia's mom joined again, caught up in the story. Parents came to the class and we moved the desk around to form tables. Cameron's mom was making hot dogs in the back of the room. Even Mr. Shipman's mom brought a cake and food. Dwayne's mouth fell over. Mr. Shipman's mom came too? His mother nodded. Benicia kept talking. Mr. Shipman said a blessing and then the eating began. We ate chips, salad, soda, punch, dip, candy, and Mr. Shipman's mom's strawberry cake. We had so much fun. Then Mr. Shipman got a call to the office. He left the room with a large black bag. Tatiana tried to go with Mr. Shipman. I want to come with you, she chuckled. No, you stay here. I'll be back, answered Mr. Shipman. Everybody started dancing and singing, and then there was a knock at the door. Jamarcus opened the door, and there was Santa Claus. Well, Mr. Shipman dressed as Santa Claus. The room erupted in cheers. He gave each kid 2 gifts. The special gift was the ornament he made for each of us with our picture. I finally found out why he had taken them. I bet he'll take our pictures too, Dwayne shouted, full of happiness. Benicia smiled and continued. Mr. Shipman took our class around the school, giving out candy and saying, Merry Christmas. As the parents cleaned up the room, Mr. Shipman opened his gifts. He got peanuts, coffee, and gum, his favorites. He smiled and laughed out loud. Mr. Shipman gave the Christmas tree to Alicia's family. They were overjoyed. We all said goodbye to Mr. Shipman as the bell rang. Benicia smiled and tilted her head like she was really having a good time remembering. I ran back and hugged Mr. Shipman and said, "Merry Christmas, Benicia. Happy New Year." That's how I spent the December celebrations in Mr. Shipman's class. Dwayne cheered. My December holiday is going to be better in Mr. Shipman's class. Yes, it will, little brother. Yes, it will. I hope y'all enjoyed hearing about the December celebrations in Mr. Shipman's class. Thank you.